Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. FPL Consult here, and today we're going to do my Game Week 21 wildcard team. So in this video, we're going to take a look at how a Game Week 21 wildcard team would look like if I were to wildcard this week. I'm personally not wildcarding because Game Week 21 is actually quite a tough week to wildcard for multiple reasons. So Game Week 22's double, right, for Manchester United isn't confirmed at this point in time, and then the only confirmed one is the Game Week 23 double for Arsenal and Man City. And in Game Week 25, there could be blanks for some teams as well. So that is something to take into account. But we don't know the confirmed teams who doubled this week. And that's the problem with Game Week 21 as well. Right? But if you guys are in dire situations where your teams really need a rebuild, right, then hopefully this video is helpful for you. And I'm sure it will help with transfer planning as well, to see where the wildcard team or the ideal team at this point in time is tending towards. Right? So hopefully this one is helpful for you guys. If you do enjoy it, please give it a like and also subscribe as well if you are new around here. So first we're going to go in goal, right, with David Raya. Now the reason is because Brentford are actually fourth on the fixture ticker. So I do think like moving forward there would be clean sheets for David Raya. Now a lot of us went for Kepa initially from Game Week 17, right, but as we have seen, right, even though he did keep a clean sheet against Crystal Palace, Chelsea did struggle quite a bit, right, in that Game Week 20 game. And I think moving forward, I don't think Kepa is necessary. We can go with David Raya, who is also a pretty cheap option at 4.6 mil. Right, and then as the back three, we're going to go with Trippier, Ake, and Ben White. Now, Trippier, we must have him. He is a bonus point magnet, and he's also someone that I think performed really consistently this season. Right, so we're all going to have Trippier, especially because of his effective ownership being really high as well. Right, next up, there's Ake and Ben White. Now, both of them, I feel, are cheap entries into their respective defenses, and both do double. Right, they have a confirmed double in Game Week 23. Right, so at this point, having them in defense would be important as well, right? And on the bench, as we can see right now, there's Ward, there's Martinelli, Shaw, and Bueno. Now it's a pretty stacked bench, but that's because Manchester United and Arsenal play each other. That's why Martinelli and Shaw are on the bench. I've started Ben White instead of Shaw because I think like the Arsenal game, because it is at the Emirates, I feel like that would favour the Arsenal team a little bit more, especially since they've been so strong at home. Right, so at this point, it's really a 50-50 between Shaw and Ben White. You could go with Shaw, but at this point, I'm favouring Ben White a little bit. And then in defence, in the last defensive spot, there's Bueno as a cheap enabler. So now let's take a look at the midfield. So in midfield, we're going to go with De Bruyne, Mitoma, Rashford, and Odegaard. Now, I think for this midfield, it pretty much picks itself, except for Mitoma. Right, so touching on the other three first. Kevin De Bruyne, he has that double in Game Week 23, and of course he is one of the more nailed outfield players for Man City. Right, so it makes sense to go for him now. Only if Salah doesn't have a double in Game Week 21. We're still waiting to see whether that is announced or not, right? And I will have some recommendations at the end of the video to see if we can include Salah if they do double, if Liverpool do double in Game Week 21, right? So keep a lookout for that one. But for now, De Bruyne makes the team, and Rashford and Odegaard in their respective teams, they are the ones that are performing really well at this point in time. Both of them are just around 6 point something million, so it's really cheap and a good entry into attacks that I think are performing really well. At this point, I think there are only 3 teams that are performing at the level that they should, and that is Newcastle, Manchester United, and Arsenal, right? So having actually Trippier, Rashford, and Odegaard in this team would definitely form the core structure of it. Now for Mitoma, I think he's a really exciting option. He's had a lot of big chances in this new Brighton squad that under De Zerbi has performed really well, right? And the structure and just the way that they're playing this season after he's taken over, they've just created so many chances, they've gotten so many goals, and a lot of their wingers and attackers are getting involved, right? Very involved in the play, and of course, therefore getting assists and returns. So I do like Brighton's conversion rate, and that's why Mitoma at just 5 mil is a cheap entry into this Brighton attack that I will want a piece of. Right, so let's take a look now at the forwards. So up front, we're going with Mitrovic, Haaland, and Kane. Now for Haaland and Kane, both of them I think are really where we should be spending our money, because most of our teams, if you look at it, there aren't really that many premium options in defense that we want to go for. There are a lot of value midfielders as well, right? So I think up front is where we should be spending our money, and Haaland and Kane are both players that I think have performed consistently throughout the season. Yes, in game week 20 for the first game, right, both of them blanked, right, but there is still a game to go. They play each other, right. Haaland and Kane will play each other as the second game of game week 20. We'll see how that goes. But for now, even regardless of how that goes, I still feel like both of them have performed consistently enough for us to want them in our teams. So Haaland and Kane makes the squad, and the last one is Mitrovic. Now, as you guys can see in the left-hand side of the screen, I've included an alternative now, right? And that's we could go for Tony instead of Mitrovic, but there is a reason why I've gone with Mitrovic instead. Now, firstly, right, Ivan Toney is in a current situation where the FA could ban him very soon because of his betting issues. But on top of that, right, there are 4 potential teams that blank come game week 25, and that currently stands at Manchester United, Newcastle, Brighton and Brentford. So obviously Ivan Toney would come in, and of course Raya possibly with a blank as well, right? So if we do include Ivan Toney, we would have a total, right, of about 6 players who blank in game week 25, and we wouldn't want that, right? So currently in this squad, there are 4 players that potentially will blank in game week 25, and that's David Raya, right, Trippier, Rashford, Shaw and Mitoma. Sorry, 5 players, right? So the reason why Raya is alright to keep still is because we could just bring Ward in for him, right? But for the other outfield players, there's 4 of them, right? Shaw, Trippier, Rashford and Mitoma. Shaw's on the bench. Now we could very well just use one of our transfers to transfer one of these 4 outfielders out, and then we would have the other 3 on the bench for game week 25. So that's already taking into account the game week 25 blank, right? So that's one of the reasons why I prefer Mitrovic over Toney, because then it gives us that flexibility moving forward into game week 25, where we will have transfers to deal with these blanks, right? Of course, barring any upsets that we see in the cup games, right? So another thing that we will have to consider is that if there is a double game week 21 for Liverpool, then Salah in for De Bruyne would be the most sensible move there. So I think this team looks pretty good on the balance. There are 3 Arsenal players here: White, Odegaard and Martinelli. There's also 3 Man City players in Haaland, Ake and De Bruyne to cover that confirmed game week 23 as well. And in terms of price points, I think we've hit pretty much most of the price points that we would want at this point in time. And the balance of the squad, you see the bench is pretty strong as well. Week in, week out, we could just start Martinelli and Shaw. They're only on the bench because Arsenal and United play each other this week. So for now, this is how the team looks like if I were to wildcard in game week 21. Let me know what you guys think. Are you guys using your chip? And of course, wait out before you activate the wildcard to see the results of the later game week 20 games, as well as any potential announcements that we may get surrounding double game weeks and possibly blank game weeks as well. But for now, that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like and also subscribe as well if you are new around here, and I'll catch you guys in more game week 21 content very soon. Bye bye.